Alright, I have removed the bench seat so I have access to the top of the tank. And what I'm going to work on is getting all the debris out from under here. And then, it's kind of dark so I'll turn on my light. That right there, if you can see it, I can get closer too. This is the fuel filter. So, we're going to get that removed and we got to definitely get a new one put in. You can just look at that one and tell that it's pretty grungy. My dad did say that he got all of the old fuel removed. He used, I think he said a drill pump to get it out. And so, at least I don't have to worry about old fuel in there. But unfortunately, the way this tank is set up, there might be some dirt or debris in there, and I want to make sure that none of that makes its way back into the carburetor. So I'm going to get that fuel filter removed, and then we will have to get a new one. But also, I'm going to inspect the rubber line that goes all the way to the front, because I have a feeling that it's going to be very brittle, and we got to make sure that it won't break. So far, it needs a new solenoid, a new battery, and a new fuel filter. I'm going to use the shop vac to suck up a lot of this debris, and I'm going to have to pick at it with, I'll scrape a lot of it off and stuff. But underneath the seat is some storage. There was the drain plugs in here, and I have no idea what that was. So this is the before shot, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after. Okay everybody, so I got a lot of the leaves out, and as you can probably see, there's actually like the tiniest little layer of ice in the bottom of it. So what I'm going to do now is I have some chain oil. It's nice and thick, and I'm going to take that paintbrush and I'm going to just start painting these chains, and hopefully then over the next couple days here it'll soak in at least a little bit. So when I do get the time to take it for a spin, it should free up a little bit better than before. So that's what's in store right now. There's a lot of chain to cover, so this is going to take me quite a while. We get to work with the dipstick. So this is should be easy. It's these little things that add up, I guess, over time. So there's our dipstick, and it was just in the top of it, right on the cap here, there was an O-ring. There it is. So yeah, the O-ring just fits right in the cap. And there you go. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna bring this end up. I wasn't super happy with the cleanup job I did to the carburetor, and so I'm going to open it back up and see if getting it started and running that little bit of fuel cleaned it up at all, or if I need to do a little more cleanup work with it. Let's find out. I've been doing some cleanup work. Got the back kind of down to the bare floor for the most part. A little bit of ice left down the bottom there, and then both of the seats I kind of scraped around, but once again, there's just a bunch of frozen stuff in there. So scraped out what I could without hurting this vinyl, I believe. The vinyl is very, very brittle right now. I'm going to try to put some conditioners type stuff on there to see if I can save it, but I'm not sure if it will come out. Not a whole lot of cool finds in the bottom of this thing. I found an old Coke can and one brass round, a spent brass round, so that's about it. But yeah, just kind of cleaning it up. I got both sides oiled up, as you can see. Just on the tops, it's what I can get to with that brush. Hey everybody, so today should be the big day. It's Monday night. I picked this up on Saturday? Was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday I picked this thing up, and I got a new fuel filter and a new air filter as well. See if I can just put some vacuum in this line. Okay everybody, so this small metal box right here is what they call a mechanical fuel pump. And it works off of the, I guess you'd say, not the compression, but the decompression of this overhead valve. It pushes air out, spins a small little turbine in there, which essentially works like a pressure washer. So the incoming fuel gets pressurized, creating like a vacuum to also suck the fuel in, and brings it into the carburetor. Well, this part here I believe to be faulty, because it's not sucking gas from the tank. I know there's gas that can make it because I sucked fuel all the way up and through. I got a mouthful of it, and it's just not getting the vacuum, if you will, that it needs. So I ordered this part off of argoadventure.com. They make a new plastic style one. You can get a metal one. The metal one's $44. The plastic one works for all these same motors. These Vanguard, I think it's 16 to like 24 horsepower motors, and it's 22 bucks. So I opted for that because there's no reason to spend twice as much for the same thing, and it'll probably give many, many years of good service anyways. So I'm waiting for that part to come in. I ordered it a day or two ago, so it should be here maybe by this weekend. But tonight's project is I'm going to be greasing all the little Zerk fittings, and I want to do a oil change. I ran the diesel heater for many hours today, and it got it up pretty hot in here. I think it was sitting around 80. The floor is wet, it'll dry, and it really thawed out this trailer and the Argo pretty good. Reason being is Sam got into a car accident today. She got not T-boned, but hit on her driver's side, flipped her around. Luckily it wasn't her fault. Someone was running a red light. So I guess I can show you guys that real quickly here, but yeah, so I cleaned this out because it was full of slush, and well, her car is really not worth parking in the garage. Today is Wednesday, and we were literally going in on Saturday to buy her new car. This thing has under 30,000 miles on it, and yeah, like it's done. It's probably going to be a total loss. The hood's all banged up. Can't open this door because the jam's bad. It's the back end. This is crinkled. That's all ruined. So, yeah. That's what insurance is for, I guess. Luckily, it wasn't her fault. But regardless, I got this side cleaned out and dry. I'm trying to dry it out so that we can get our new vehicle in here with a fresh start. Put the new oil in. I'm putting in 530 fully synthetic. It calls for that. Full synthetic. And then the 530 gives me a range of 20 below to 100 above in Fahrenheit. So that's pretty much a Minnesota temperature most of the time. So, you know, you can put different weights of oil for different climates. But this was that's actually the most versatile because that's the weather that we see here in Minnesota. And when I get all that done, I'm going to take this trim and remount it. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to use rivets as such like these. And I'm going to drill little holes and rivet it every foot or whatever feels about right the whole way, because that always falls off and it's a nice trim piece. So we're gonna mount, I got a couple pieces actually, remount that and just kind of working on some of the cosmetic type things while waiting for parts. So alright, so we got these 4 done. There's one there, one on this side, and then the same one back here and one right down there. I believe also, just from looking at it, when I get these tires off, there should be a zert on this side, but it's on the outside from what I can tell. So next up, I'm going to kind of pick up some of these tools and just get them put in better spots. And then I got to get the ones in the engine bay on the bottom. Should be, I think, maybe 2 more in there. And then from that, I believe it's going to be oil change time, because that should be all of them. Okay, doing these front ones, this side's easy if you take out the plastic air filler box, but you got one grease fitting hiding right back in here. Might be hard to see. And then you got one here. To drain the engine oil, the drain plug is way in the front. The way I'm going to do it is I took a Fiji bottle, cut a hole in it, and I'm going to stick it up underneath there, pull the plug, and as it drains through the bottle, it'll go into these. I got a double Ziploc bag that'll sit on the front. You can do this way. You can pull the motor, or you can siphon it out, but I'm going to give this way a go, and we'll see. But it's a pretty hard reach in there, and you got to think of something kind of creative for it. So I'll let you know if this works. I'm thinking it will. Okay, my idea worked. I had to cut it a little low on this side, but we got a tiny bit of oil out of there, and it looks pretty watery. So yeah, there's not a lot of oil in here. It takes about 1.5 quarts, and that's low. So pretty happy that it wasn't running or anything. Probably would have could have ruined that motor. So now I'm just going to put in, it's roughly 1.5 quarts, and we should be pretty much ready to go. Alright, I got this trim piece put on, and I used, you can see it, I used rivets. Rivets? Yeah, rivet it. And then that warning plate at the top would always catch like your boot or whatever. It stuck out a little bit, so I got that in too. Okay everybody, we have got our new mechanical fuel pump in. This is the old style. This is the new style. Alright, so you guys seen it pop off there, and it ran really nice. It's still falling on its face a little bit. Ended up dying out on me. It was idling really good for about 15 minutes, and then right here it kind of died out. So what does that mean? Well, you guys seen it fire off pretty quick there in the beginning, but that was about 2 hours ago. My dad had said that he'd siphoned out as much gas as he could, and the tank did look empty from what I could see. Unfortunately, there was some gas that was pretty bad. Actually, probably some of the oldest gas I've ever dealt with. Which makes sense because the other day when I was trying to siphon gas up, I got a mouthful through the tube, and I thought it was weird. It tasted kind of like water. Didn't have any bitterness or anything. Well, that's why. It wasn't even gas at that point. It's probably like moonshine. But, so, ended up unhooking the fuel filter right behind the seat there, putting a little doodad on there to extend it, and that is some grimy old gas right there. We got this 1 quart right here is full of just disgusting fuel. And the way I did that was to pressurize the tank. I used my leaf blower here, and it fits just about perfectly over the fuel cap and pressurizes the tank and pushes the fluid out. I think there's still some in there because I had to blow the line all the way back with the air compressor, and when I did that it aerated the gas. So there's more bad gas in there, but regardless, it runs pretty decent. I'm sure the carb's gonna need to be cleaned again. I already cleaned it twice, but most important thing is that we run some gas through it and just get it. It was real smoky in the beginning. You guys probably seen that. That was all old fuel, probably some oil mixed in there somehow. But it ran and seemed pretty good. Sounds like it always has. Always had kind of like a weird, I don't know if you'd call it a knock or just if it's the CVT clutch or something of that nature. It kind of has a weird knock type sound to it, but it's always had that, if you're wondering. And yeah, so real happy. That is pretty much it. I got a good mouthful of fuel tonight too, and it was actual fuel, and that's disgusting. So I'm gonna go wash out my mouth and call it a night. But this will be the end of part 2. This is just the beginning. Getting it running was important, but unfortunately there's a lot more work to do, so stay tuned.